Assalamu alaikum students and welcome to SM Public Academy Campus 5. So today we are going to have our lesson on English literature, okay? So as I told you that 1 week we're going to have language and 1 week we will have literature. So this is our literature week. So I welcome all the grade 4 students to another English literature class and I am your course instructor Miss Sabah Arif. So, before I begin the lesson, let me remind you that I hope you people are staying home and staying safe and taking care of yourselves and helping your moms and dads in all the household works and also focusing on your studies. Remember, students, if you are home, it's not your free time. In this time, you have to focus on your studies. In this time, you have to learn more and more. You have to do all the assignments. You have to do the reading. You have to, learn the words and meanings, everything, whatever is being given. Keep working on your studies, keep focusing on your studies, and please do not waste your time at home. Okay, so let's begin our lesson today. Now, till yesterday we were doing escape for 3. Our lesson was escape for 3 and we have completed that lesson yesterday. So today we will be beginning a new lesson. Okay, so I want you all to pay attention and to listen with concentration because today I'm going to introduce you to a new lesson. Okay, and what is the name of our lesson? Let's see. Yes, the name of our lesson is The Boy Who Loved Ships. Okay, on page number 102, there is a lesson, The Boy Who Loved Ships. Okay, so I want you people to open up your wide range readers, Green Book 4, and open page number 102, The Boy Who Loved Ships. This is the second lesson of our final term. First we did escape for 3. Now we are going to begin the boy who loved ships. Okay, so let's see. The boy who loved ships. This is the name of our lesson. Now you must have all seen ships, maybe if not for real, then in the movies, in the dramas, in the cartoons. You must have seen ships, right? So a ship is a huge big vehicle that is usually sailing in the sea, and the small form of it is a boat that usually sails in rivers. Okay, so a ship is a big huge water transport vehicle, okay, that is used for moving passengers, and it's also basically used for moving cargoes. It's used for moving big uh, loads of goods from one place to another. But one another purpose of a ship is to defend the borders of the sea. Okay, if a country has borders that has, in the ocean, like Pakistan has borders in the ocean, Karachi and Badin, and uh, you have this Balochistan side where you have all these, port regions. So there you have, you need to have the naval force, okay, the navy that protects the borders in the sea. Okay, so they also have ships. Okay, so ships are used for different purposes. So this story is about a boy who loved ships. Now let's see. Let's have a preview. First of all, who was this boy? Who do you think this boy was? Which boy is this story about? Is this some common boy, or is this someone who became famous? We are going to learn this in this chapter. Why did he love ships? I mean, what was the reason why he loved ships? Probably uh, he loved ships because he lived at a place where he could see the ships all the time, or maybe he had some uncle or some father, his father, who was actually, uh, working on the ship, so that's why he was inspired by him. Let's see. And where did he live? As I told you, maybe he lived near a port, or maybe he lived in the city. So these are all the questions that will be answered once we start reading the lesson. Okay, so shall we begin reading? Are you all ready? Okay, so let's start reading The Boy Who Loved Ships on page number 102. I'm giving you 10 seconds. Quickly open your books on page number 102. Let's start reading together. And in this lesson, you will come across a lot of difficult words. Those are the typical, the ship terms. Okay, the different parts of the ship, and different things that you learn about the ship. So You have to be very much careful, underline all the difficult words because you will come across many new words also, okay? So let's start reading. You all have to read with me, okay? The Boy Who Loved Ships. This is the title of the lesson. Long, long ago, an old and broken ship floated at the river's edge beside the dockyard. Once it had been a warship with great white sails blowing in the wind and a shining cannon fixed upon the deck. But now its sailing days were over, and it was used as a home for Francis and his family. So basically, this story is a long time ago. It's from the past. It's a long, long time ago. That is many, many days ago. There was an old and broken ship that floated at the river's edge beside the dockyard. So what is to float? Underline the word floated. Floated means moved on the surface of a liquid. So if something is moving on the surface of the liquid and it's not going in the liquid or it's not going in the sea, then we say it is floating. Okay, so there was a big ship that was old and it was broken. That means it was so old that it was actually broken from different places, and it floated at the river's edge beside the dockyard. Underline the word dockyard. What is a dockyard? A dockyard is a place where ships and boats are loaded, unloaded, or mended. Okay, so a dockyard is actually a place where the ships come and they are repaired. If something is to be loaded on them, then something is loaded. If something is brought on them on it, then it is unloaded from there. Okay, and edge is the corner. Okay, so it was actually at the corner of a river where this ship was floating, and it was beside the dockyard. Once it had been a warship. Now, what is a warship? A warship is a use that has been used in wars, okay, in battles, okay. So it was a warship. And how did it look like? It had great white sails blowing in the wind and a shining cannon fixed upon the deck. So, what was it having? It had white sails. What are sails? Sails are a piece of material extended on the mast to catch the wind. So basically it is a piece of cloth, actually a piece of usually a very thick cloth that is attached on the mast, and it blows as the wind is blowing, it keeps blowing and it helps the ship to move. Okay, and also a shining cannon. Now what is a cannon? A cannon is a large heavy gun. Okay, in olden days we did not have the guns like we have them today, the machine guns and the pistols and the rifles. So there were actually cannons which had these big balls of you know uh, explosive material, and they used to be shot from the one ship to another, and they, wherever they used to fall, they used to explode, they used to burst. Okay, so there was a cannon fixed upon the deck. What is the deck? The deck is the floor of the ship. Okay, but now its sailing days were over and it was used as a home for Francis and his family. So basically, the boy who loved ships, his name is Francis. Okay, and Francis is the boy who was actually now living in this ship, and his family was also living there, and they were using it as a home. Okay, so probably they were not very rich people because definitely they could not afford a proper home, so they were using a ship as a home. Okay, Francis was a cheerful, friendly boy with curly brown hair and eyes as gray as the sea. His father was a poor man, a preacher, who read services and prayers to the sailors whose ships were in the dock. So basically, now there's a description of Francis, that Francis was a cheerful. Cheerful means happy. He was a happy and friendly boy. That means he was always being friends with everyone. And how did he look like? He had curly brown hair. His hair was curly and brown, and his eyes were as gray as the sea. Now you remember we did the similes, as brave as a lion, as cold as ice. So it is also a simile here, okay, that his eyes were as gray as the sea. That is, his eyes were like the grayish color of the sea. Okay, his eyes were gray. And who was his father? His father was a poor man. That means they were not rich people, and he was a preacher. Now, who is a preacher? A preacher is a person who reads services and prayers to the sailors. Sailors are the people who go on the ships. Okay, the people who live on the ships, who work on the ships, are called sailors. So his father was a preacher. That means he used to go and read prayers and services to the people who worked on the ships. Okay, so his mother must often have wished for a real house, but even an old ship was better. So basically, you can believe that his mother would have definitely wanted a proper house, but they were not rich enough to afford a proper house. So they were happy with this house of theirs that was in the ship. Okay, let's move forward. Now, so she tied her clothesline to the broken mast and hung the washings across the deck. She wedged the baby's cradle behind a stand where the cannon had been, and she went on with her work like anyone else. So now this is a description of her mother, his mother, that how she used to survive. She tied the clothesline. What is a clothesline? A clothesline is a line in which you on which you must have seen your maid hanging the clothes after the washing is done to get them dry. Okay, so that is a clothesline. A clothesline is a rope on which you hang the clothes. Okay, so what did she do? She tied it to the mast. What is a mast? A mast is a tall pole that holds up the sails of the ship. So basically it was a very tall pole. So what she used it for? She was using it to tie her clothesline, okay, and hung the washing across the deck. So she would hang all the hung is the second form of hang. So what she will do? She will hang all the washings. That is all the clothes she washed across the deck. She wedged the baby's cradle. Wedged is fixed in position. So she will fix in position the baby's cradle. Cradle is a baby's moving bed or cot. Okay, a cradle is a moving cot or bed. So she had a baby, small baby. Definitely Francis must be having younger siblings also, younger brothers and sisters also. So what his mother did, she fixed the baby's cradle. A cradle is like a jhula, okay, what you have for children, behind a stand where the cannon had been. So now the cannon was no more there, and so what she would do, she would fix it there where the cannon had been, and like all other women, she would go on for her work. Francis and his brothers and sisters lived and played and slept on the warship. Okay. Always swaying up and down a little on the ripples, always hearing the sound of water lapping against the wooden sides. Everywhere they looked, they saw ships and sails and masts. Some of the ships came to the river to be mended. Some had been left there because they were too old to be used anymore. But every week there were some that spread their sails and sailed down the river to the sea. So basically, now what was the routine of Francis and his brothers and sisters? That they used to live on the ship, they used to play on the ship, and they used to sleep on the ship. That means it was like a home for them. Like you people, you live in your home, you play in your home, you sleep in your home, you do everything in your home, right? So this was their home. So they used to do all their activities on the ship. And they were always swaying. Swaying is move slowly from side to side. So they were swaying up and down. What were they doing? They were moving up and down, slowly on the ripples. Ripples are small waves. Okay, so they were always moving up and down on the ripples, because definitely if you are living uh, at the side of the river, then definitely the small waves are continuously coming and striking the ship, and they used to enjoy that, always hearing the sound of water lapping against the wooden sides. Lapping is to wash against with a gentle sound. So lapping is basically takrana. Okay, every time there were ripples, there were small waves, they would come and they would splash with the surface of the ship, and there will be a sound. The wooden sides are the sides of the ship. Okay, so this was their daily routine. They will throw stones, they will create ripples, and they will splash, and they just used to enjoy games of this kind. And what they saw, everywhere they looked, they saw ships, sails, and masts, because definitely there were ships, so there were sails also, and there were masts also, huge poles. Now what did the ships come there for? Some ships came to the river to be mended. Mended is to repair. Okay, so some ships came to be mended, that is to get repaired. Some were left there because they were too old to be used. That means the owner of the that ship or the boat left them there, so that the other people can use it if they want, or they can take away the parts, and they were no more in use. But every time there were ships that used to go up and down in the river, and they will just come, they'll get parked over there for some time, they will be, they will be hangared over there, and then finally when the work was done and the repairs were done, or if they were loaded and unloading was done, then they will go back into the sea. Okay, so this was a common routine for Francis and his siblings. Then there were the sailors, always coming and going, always full of wonderful stories that Francis loved to hear. Stories of treasure and pirates, and battles with the Spanish ships, stories of wild animals and strange people in lands far, far away. So, what else used to happen in Francis' daily routine was that he used to meet the sailors. Now, I told you sailors are the people who work on the ship. Okay, so because the sailors were always coming and going, and definitely the sailors were coming from different countries, they used to sail in a ship were from one place to another, then from another to another. They used to take long long voyages, long long journeys, and then they used to come back. So whenever they came back, they had a lot of wonderful stories, okay, with them, and Francis loved to hear that. And what were the stories about? The stories were of treasure. Now, what is a treasure? Treasure is precious and valuable gems and jewels. Okay, so about the treasure. And the pirates. Who are pirates? Pirates are the sea robbers, the people who live in the sea and rob people. Okay, and battles are war with what? War with Spanish ships. Now, Spain is a place, and the people who live in Spain are called Spanish, and the ships of the Spain are called Spanish ships. So it's used to love, listening the stories of treasures, pirates, wars, and also the stories of wild animals and strange people. Now, what is wild animal? Wild animal are the animals that you come across all of a sudden, and they are not your pet animals. Okay, and strange people, that is, the people who are living in different parts of the world. Definitely every people, every kind of people. If you go to America, you will face a different kind of people. If you go to Dubai, you will be meeting different kinds of people. So they used to tell Francis about the different kinds of people they were meeting every time, and he used to enjoy those stories. Okay, so basically Francis had this love of ships and boats from his childhood, because he was living in a place which was all full of these things. So definitely he started liking those things, and finally he developed a love for those ships, and that is why the story is called The Boy Who Loved Ships, because all his childhood was spent in a ship house. He was meeting the sailors all the time, he was enjoying their stories, he was playing on the ship all the time. So he started loving ships. Okay, children, is that clear, everyone? Okay, let's move forward. So let's answer some questions now. Let's see how much you people can understand. Who was Francis? So if you all remember, Francis was a cheerful, friendly boy with curly brown hair and gray eyes, right? This is the description of Francis, that Francis was a happy and a friendly boy. And how did he look like? He had curly brown hair and gray eyes, okay? Where did Francis' family live? They lived in a broken warship floating at the river's edge beside the dockyard. So what was the place they used to live in? They used to live on a broken warship, okay? A ship that was once used in their battles and in the wars. Now it was no more in use because it was old. And they used to use that ship as a home. And it was their home, okay? And where was the ship floating? It was floating at the river's end beside the dockyard. I told you, is a place where the ships are mended, they are repaired, or they are loaded and unloaded of the goods. Okay, let's see. What did Francis love to hear? Now, I just told you that Francis loved to hear stories of treasure and pirates, the stories of battles, wild animals, and strange people. So, what was his favorite, leisure time thing? That he used to sit with the sailors and ask them about the, the weird stories that the people they have met, the animals they have, strange animals they have seen, and about the treasure and pirates and battles and wars. And he used to take a lot of interest in all those stories. Okay, so I hope, children, that you people have understood the lesson so far, and from tomorrow we are going to begin with the next page. Okay, so Listen to this lesson again if you have missed anything, any detail, and kindly underline all the difficult words. You see, there are a lot of difficult and new words in this lesson because definitely they're about the parts of the ship. So you must not have heard them before. So go through them, learn them, underline them. And I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Take care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.